Dead weight. That's what my boss, Robert Kane, called me. Loud enough for everyone in the office to hear. Marcus, you're nothing but dead weight. If it weren't for me, you'd be gone already. The air went still. Phones stopped ringing. The hum of the fluorescent lights filled the silence. Kane's assistant chuckled nervously, while the rest of my coworkers stared at their screens, pretending not to hear. 6 years of loyalty, late nights, and missed birthdays, erased with 2 words. Kane straightened his tie, gave me that smug grin he wore like armor, and walked away. I stood there, fists clenched, cheeks burning. But humiliation can do strange things. It can bury you, or build something inside you. That day he didn't bury me. He lit a fuse. Before I tell you how the man who called me useless lost everything, subscribe to Lawful Payback and tell me where you're watching from. My name is Marcus Hale, 39, from Columbus, Ohio. For 6 years, I worked as a maintenance technician at St. Anne's Private Hospital, a place that looked polished on the outside but creaked like an old ship behind the walls. I wasn't a doctor or a nurse. I was the guy who kept things working. When a generator died mid-surgery, I was the one sprinting through the basement with a wrench in hand. When the HVAC failed during a July heat wave, I crawled through vents until patients could breathe easy again. No one noticed until something broke. But I took pride in that quiet kind of service. At home, my world was smaller and brighter. My daughter Maya, 8 years old and all heart, was the reason I woke up every morning. After the divorce, she became my anchor. We lived in a small 2-bedroom apartment with creaky floors, second-hand furniture, and laughter that filled the space between bills. Overtime was what kept us steady. Those extra hours weren't for luxuries. They were survival. School shoes, rent, groceries, her asthma medication, all balanced on the thin thread of time and a half pay. I was known as the guy who never said no. Last-minute call? I came in. Sunday shift? I was there. Loyalty meant something to me, until Robert Kane arrived. He came from corporate, sharp suit, sharper smile, cold eyes that saw people as expenses. Within a month, he'd cut staff, pushed deadlines, and turned the hospital into a spreadsheet. He preached efficiency, but what he really meant was control, and I was next on his list. The changes started quietly. A few memos, new schedules, mandatory productivity audits. Then one morning, an email hit everyone's inbox, effective immediately. All overtime requires written approval from administration. Unauthorized hours will not be compensated. It sounded routine until payday came. I tore open my envelope, checked my hours, and felt my stomach drop. 32 hours missing. I walked straight to Kane's office, gripping my pay stub like proof of my existence. "Sir, I worked those hours," I said. "They're not on my check." He didn't even look up from his laptop. "Marcus, maybe you need to manage your money better. I can't pay people for imaginary time. Imaginary time." The words hit like a slap. HR wasn't any better. They smiled their polite, hollow smiles. "Everything in our system matches," they said. "Maybe you made an error recording. Error. Like I hadn't logged every hour by hand. Like I didn't remember every minute spent sweating under broken machinery." I left their office dizzy, ashamed, not because I'd done something wrong, but because they'd made me believe I had. Bills started piling up. Maya's birthday came, and all I could afford was a cake from the discount shelf. I remember her small voice saying, "It's okay, Dad. Maybe next year." That night, I sat in the dark after she went to bed. For the first time in years, I felt useless. Like Kane was right. Like maybe I really was dead weight. But life has a way of throwing you a spark when you're sitting in the dark too long. Mine came one Friday night, buried in a recycling bin. It was late. The hallways were empty, except for the distant beep of heart monitors. I was cleaning out the maintenance office when I noticed a stack of papers in the recycling bin marked Payroll Archive. Curiosity pulled me closer. I flipped through the crumpled sheets, time cards, hours logged, signatures intact, and then red lines slashing through every overtime entry. I flipped faster, my pulse racing. Every page told the same story, hours worked, then erased. And then I saw one with my name, my handwriting, my signature. My stolen time. It hit me like a punch to the chest. Kane hadn't been cutting costs. He was stealing from his own employees, falsifying records to make his department look more efficient and secure bonuses for himself. I felt sick. Then angry, then cold. I stuffed the papers into my backpack. Over the next 2 weeks, I gathered everything I could. Emails, copies of reports, anything that hinted at tampering. I even spoke to a few coworkers who whispered that they'd lost hours too, but were too scared to speak. The fear in their eyes told me everything I needed to know. Kane had built his power on silence, but I was done being quiet. The following Monday, I sat in the office of Claire Donovan, a workplace attorney with a reputation for taking down bullies in suits. Her office was small but sharp, shelves lined with legal books, coffee still steaming on her desk. She listened as I laid everything out, the missing pay, the humiliation, the timesheets. When I finished, she leaned back, scanning the documents slowly. Then she looked at me with steady eyes. "Marcus," she said, "this isn't an accounting issue. It's criminal fraud, wage theft. If you're ready to fight, I'll stand with you." I hesitated. "They'll crush me, won't they?" She smiled faintly. "Maybe, but we'll make sure they bleed for it." So we filed. The lawsuit hit like a bomb. The hospital's PR team went into overdrive. HR produced spotless digital records. Kane called me a disgruntled employee, seeking attention. Every hearing felt like walking into a storm. Reporters lingered outside. My coworkers avoided eye contact, afraid to be seen with me. But Claire was relentless. She found the cracks, inconsistencies in reports, duplicate entries, altered digital timestamps, and then she found it, buried deep in discovery, an email from Robert Kane himself. It read, "Make sure final time cards do not reflect unauthorized overtime. Adjust before submission. Keep this quiet," the line that turned everything upside down. The courtroom was packed on the third day of trial. Reporters filled the back, cameras waiting for a headline. Kane sat at the defense table, perfectly still, jaw tight. Claire rose, her voice calm but cutting. "Your Honor, the plaintiff would like to submit Exhibit 47, an internal email from the defendant." She read it aloud. Each word echoed in the courtroom. Kane shifted in his seat, face pale. "That's taken out of context," he muttered. Claire stepped closer. "Mr. Kane, did you or did you not instruct staff to alter payroll data?" He hesitated. "Those were standard adjustments," the judge interrupted. "Adjustments that removed overtime hours?" Silence. Then, from the witness bench, came a voice. One of my co-workers, a young woman from payroll. Hands trembling, she said, "He told me to delete overtime or lose my job. He said it was policy. I kept copies because I was scared." A collective gasp rippled through the courtroom. Kane's lawyer buried his face in his notes. The judge leaned forward, tone sharp. "This court finds the defendant, Robert Kane, guilty of wage theft, falsification of records, and fraud." The gavel struck. All stolen wages to be repaid in full with damages and attorney's fees. Further, this case is referred for criminal prosecution. Kane's face went white. His empire gone. His arrogance shattered. And I just sat there, tears in my eyes, feeling something I hadn't felt in a long time. Freedom. When I stepped outside, the crisp autumn air cut through me like truth. The courthouse steps were flooded with light, cameras flashing. Behind me, reporters swarmed Kane. He shoved past them, face down. No words, just the sound of his world collapsing. Within a week, the hospital released a statement. Kane was terminated. Federal investigators were reviewing his case. Employees who'd lost money were compensated. I received full restitution, back pay, and damages, enough to clear my debts and start fresh. But the real reward wasn't money. It was dignity. That night, I picked up Maya from school. She ran to me laughing, arms wide. We got pizza, real pizza, not frozen. And she asked, "Dad, are we okay now?" I smiled. "Yeah, kiddo, we're better than okay." Later, after she fell asleep, I stood by her door for a long time. The house was quiet. No fear, no debt, no shame. Just peace. Kane once told me I was dead weight. But now he's the one remembered for what he really was, a thief in a suit. I didn't just get my money back. I got my name back. If you believe the truth always finds its way, subscribe to Lawful Payback, because next week's story, you'll want to see how another untouchable learns the same lesson.